Let's bring in Marc Chandler, Global Head of Currency Strategies at Brown Brothers Harriman. He joins us on the line from New York. Marc, talk to me about the euro dipping below $1.30 at this point. We've been expecting this for a while. Where does it go from here?
Well, I think that in the bigger picture, we're still headed lower. I'm just concerned in the very short run that we should expect some consolidation. You know, the ECB meets, ironically, in Lisbon, Portugal, on Thursday, and it's likely that Trichet will have to talk and try to address some of these concerns. And I think that's not just a Greece situation right now, and it's not just that the package seemed to underwhelm the market, but 3 times in recent weeks, we've had to see Trichet at the ECB back down in the face of political pressure. The first time was with the IMF. The second time was changing the rules, the lending rules for one country, and then have willing to accept Greek bonds indefinitely, regardless of their creditworthiness.
Yeah, and let me talk to you about what's happening in Greece right now. We're showing pictures of the protests and the clashes between Greek citizens and the government. Some people think that in order for Greece to get this bailout package, they have to install some pretty strong austerity measures, which some don't have confidence that the country can actually do.
Yeah, well, I think that for me, the point here is really that there might be 2 points, really. One is that it's not really bailing out Greece. Greece is really the middleman. Greece is going to take the money the IMF and the Eurozone gives it, and what are they going to do with it? They're going to give it to the banks who own their credit, who own their debt. And so Greece is really a middleman here. This is really a disguised bank bailout more than a real sovereign issue. Second thing I would say is that for me, the high demands on Greece at some point, with about 70% of Greek bonds owned by foreign investors, at some point, the pain of servicing the debt is going to be so great if the Europeans continue to place these demands that they're going to choose to have a restructuring of the debt. And that's something I thought that people wanted to avoid.
That's right. Let me ask you about Spain quickly here, Marc, because that's also part of the equation. You know, we have Spain's leader saying we're not in trouble here despite 20% unemployment.
Yeah, I think that the Europeans are still in denial about the contagion, and that is so the genie is out of the bottle. It's hard to put a cork back into it, and so I think that they need to get ahead of the curve. And it's sort of like here in the U.S., Yogi Berra says something like, "Whenever you get to a fork in the road, take it." And every time there's a fork in the road, the European officials seem to be taking the wrong fork right now. And so what's going on about the euro, the weight on the euro, which is dragging down these other markets, is really a question of Europeans losing credibility gradually every step along the way.
Oh, Marc, when you start quoting Yogi Berra, you know things are going badly. Marc, let me ask you quickly about the euro. Does it have support at 130, or could we see it dip even to 125, which a lot of other currency strategists are also calling for?
Yeah, I think that over time, we'll see the euro, even if the European plans work for Greece and they stop the contagion, instead of getting aggregate domestic demand, because everybody's going to be tightening their belts, they got to go for greater foreign demand, and that means, from their point of view, a weaker euro to stimulate exports. And if the plan doesn't work, of course, the credibility of the euro comes more into question. So no matter what happens, the euro's headed down. I'm just, I said, I'm just concerned about the very short term. 125 is reasonable. We're really looking at its birth rate, which is about the 10-year moving average, and it also corresponds to purchasing power parity levels in the high teens, 118, 119.
Oh, my. Okay, well, I'm going to go to Europe if that's the case. Marc, thank you for that. Marc Chandler, who's a currency strategist at Brown Brothers Harriman.